Why does everything feel so expensive all of a sudden? This is a chart of the actual median income versus the qualified income for home ownership alone. And you can see it's literally at the biggest separation from wages to actual affordability in homes, with that blue line being the median household income and that orange line above it being the income needed to comfortably afford a home these days. I just had to look something like this up because I just had to realize that it wasn't just something I was imagining. And it doesn't help when I'm just sitting at my dinner table and I'm telling my grandparents about how I'm not getting a house right now, and they're just like, work harder. The math literally changed. But it's not just housing, it's everything. Groceries cost way more, fast food prices are just stupid. I might as well go down to Olive Garden and get an actual meal instead of getting a quarter pounder for the same price. Insurance, rent, just everyday expenses are just up all at the same time, and it just feels like I'm getting choked out of my mind. It's unbelievable. But back to housing, because honestly, that's the biggest example. Houses used to be 2 to 3 times people's income, or even on par with it, as you can see in that chart. But nowadays, it's literally 6 to 8 times the normal person's income. Obviously, that makes down payments really hard to save up for, but even then, it just feels like you're not even getting that good of a deal anymore. Why would I pay $1 million for just some shack that's 3 bedrooms and is old? Now, obviously, they don't cost that much, but you know what I mean. The prices for things have just skyrocketed, and now you're just getting such a worse value than people used to get, even literally 5 years ago. Our parents used to be able to buy homes in their early 20s, but nowadays, if you have a home by the time you're like 30 or even mid 30s, that's an achievement. But then what's crazy is even if you can afford it, the math and value of it all just still seems not that right to me. So I've been fortunate and frugal at the same time enough to be able to actually buy a house if I wanted to. But when you actually run the numbers, it doesn't really make that much sense right now. I've always heard and always had it crammed down that buying a house is the next level or an achievement, or you're financially smart if you do it. But nowadays, it's kind of a different story. I've also always heard that renting is just throwing money away. But in reality, I think nowadays it's just more complicated than that. And you can't just blanket statement, throw that out there and be right anymore. A big reason why I'm personally not buying a house right now is it just ties up a huge amount of money for what you get. The interest rates are still kind of high. And on top of all that, you still have to worry about property taxes and maintenance and even HOA fees if you're in a neighborhood. And when you add all this up, it comes pretty darn close to renting, especially if you don't know if you're going to live in that house for more than 7 years. So unless you're starting a family or you're just dead set on staying in that one place for literally a large portion of your life, 7 years or more, then it just doesn't seem like the smart thing to do. And for me, that's just not where my life is at. So as a single guy, it just seems like the smartest thing to do right now while things are a little bit unsure is just to keep renting. But then again, it just doesn't stop there. And we have all these other things that have just become so much more expensive, and affordability in general is just so much harder. I just thought actually seeing this graph and seeing how bad historically unaffordability is right now, it just cleared it so that it's not just all in my head, because I thought maybe I was just feeling this way, but it just is the truth. The math literally changed. And don't even get started on the groceries. Nowadays, it's like you spend the same amount that you did literally just 5 years ago, and you get like half the amount. And like fast food places in general just got completely rid of all their dollar menu items. It's all just gone and different now. And obviously, inflation is just going to happen over time, and everything's going to increase in price over time. I understand that, but it's just been such a sharp increase with the wages basically staying level, so proportionally doesn't make sense at all. But I guess the big lesson in it all is that life is going to keep throwing these random things at you, whether it makes sense or not. So nowadays, it's just more important to be as frugal as possible and just avoid all the little extra expenses in between, because you really have to make your dollars stretch as much as possible. It's just important to think carefully about any big financial decision you might make, whether that's simple things like moving out from your parents' house. Trust me, it's not that great unless you're in a bad situation, generation, I would say there's no shame in staying with your parents longer because living is not cheap. And this is historically just not a time where you can financially just walk through life and hope for the best because things are literally mathematically almost harder than ever. So you just need to make sure that you're more intentional with your money more now than ever. I'm sure eventually it'll equal out as all things do, but right now the times are what they are. So either way, every generation has gone through tough times and then things will always come back to normal. But just know if things feel hard, they literally kind of are right now. So don't feel too bad and just keep trying your best at things. Anyway, that's just something that's been on my mind. Peace.